Ready, set, go.
Welcome to The Sweet Spot, an UpDog podcast. I'm Andrea Morissette.
And I am Jack Bailey, and we are your hosts today.
Well, technically, Jack, I think you're our guest today. So we're going to say Kat is our co-host today.
That's right.
Bailey is
Sorry.
our co-host. Woo-hoo.
Kat, go ahead.
I am Kat Bailey, and Dre and I are your co-hosts for today's Sweet Spot podcast.
That's right, Jack. It can't always be about you, but today
Well-
it is actually about you because you are you are our guest. We're going to be talking about the origins of Spaced Out today, which is our fourth official UpDog game. The game of Spaced Out. And since you are great at being our game master and remembering things from 10 years ago, you're our official guest today for Spaced Out. So give it up for Jack Faley as our Spaced Out. Woo! Very nice clapping and cheering, guys. All right, so let's jump right into it, Jack. We already know who you are. We already know about your dogs, all that good stuff. So let's jump in a little bit about Spaced Out. So as I said before, Spaced Out was our fourth game. Kat, why don't you kick us off with our first question of the day for Jack?
All right. So as Dre mentioned, Spaced Out was our fourth game along with Freestyle that was added to the UpDog game collection. What about Spaced Out made it the type of game that UpDog wanted to get out there quickly?
So I remember a couple things. First of all, we got really good feedback on the 3x3 games. I know that there were clubs up north. We got adopted probably earliest by some clubs up in the Northeast.
Canada.
And Canada, right. And I know that in the wintertime, they were playing, some of them were playing indoors in like horse arenas and things like that, barns, and they didn't have as much space. And so one of the things that was in my head as we were creating the game was, I got to make it another 3x3 game so that we can, a lot of the clubs that are playing UpDog can play it. So that was one thing, making it a 3x3 game. And then the other thing was thinking back on like the games that I had played in the past, and as the team talked about games, you always kind of knew what to expect when you stepped up to play that game. And so we wanted to put some sort of like, hey, we want to challenge your throwing skills. And we don't want it to be this game to be like completely patternable, if that makes sense. Like, so that you don't know the exact pattern that you're going to have to do until you step up to play the game. So that was part of it. And so as we started thinking about how to put a game like that together, that's kind of how why Spaced Out was prioritized as a game.
And you had mentioned 3x3 game. For those of you that are newer listeners or newer UpDoggers, can you define what a 3x3 field is for them, Jack?
Sure. So like the full size UpDog field is a 50-yard long by 20-yard wide. And we have a 10-yard bonus strip that goes down the middle, which creates 15 different spaces on the field. A lot of our games, though, if you've ever played like four-way play or fragility, something like that, a lot of our games only utilize 9 of those spaces. So it's a 3x3 grid. So whenever we say the 3x3 games, that's what we're talking about. We're just talking about using 9 of the spaces instead of all 15. And it's able to be played on a 30-yard long by 20-yard long field, which makes it nice for a lot of clubs that don't have access to a full field.
Yep, it's a smaller version of the UpDog field. And I know this is a Spaced Out episode, but which of our games, you had mentioned Fragility and Spaced Out, so which of our games can be played on a smaller field for those of you that have limited space, or maybe you don't have a full-size competition field available, or it's winter time and you're working in your backyard? What are some of the 3x3 games that we can play?
Want me to think that?
Sure, Kat. Go ahead. Kat's going to take
Yeah,
that.
Kat.
We'll see if she gets it right.
Well, it's a question on the judge.
It is a question on the test.
On the judge test.
All right.
Yep.
Well, then you better get it right.
All level 1 games minus Funky and Far Out, and also level 2 four-way play.
Perfect.
And some of those games end up being altered from their original version. Like obviously Throw and Go you're limiting the score that you can get because you can't make it out to the longer zones if you're playing on a 3x3. 7-Up, the courses are altered, so it's not the exact same gameplay on a 3x3 field on some of the games.
Yeah, like
So
boom,
like
boom, you're missing a lot.
yeah,
of score
boom, you're
zones.
missing a lot of the score zones, so you really can't you can't maximize your
Record,
scores.
right.
Yeah, you're not going to break any records on the 3x3 field. The games that are exactly the same that are designed for a 3x3 field are four-way play, fragility level 1, greedy, spaced out,
Time warp,
fireball, the new game,
Time warp.
time warp. Yep.
level 1.
Yep, level 1. So like some of them are designed for a 3x3. Some of them were just altered because we know so many clubs only have the space for the 3x3 grid. We decided to try to like, okay, you can play it, but you're not going to be having the full experience.
Right. Perfect.
Good question, Dre.
I thought that would be a good relevant question. Okay, let's do the thing that I love to do. Let's switch the topic to freestyle.
Already? It's only question 2.
We're still talking about Spaced Out, but what I want to know is what freestyle. So all of our games, just a little preface again, all of our games have secret skill building intentions inside of them that contribute to your ability to play freestyle. So for those of you that don't know that yet, all of our games have little tricks inside that teach you freestyle skills. Because what our goal, Jack and my specifically, our goal is to get as many teams playing freestyle as possible. And we realize there's a big gap between toss and fetch and freestyle. And we feel like that's been kind of inhibiting the growth of the sport. And so UpDog was created to get more people to play freestyle, and these games all have special skills inside. So what is the special secret skill inside of Spaced Out that contributes to freestyle play?
So there are a couple big ones, but I'm sure, Dre, you could probably think of some other ones too that you can chime in on. But one of them for sure is throwing at a distance to your dog. So your dog's ideally, if you're playing Spaced Out, your dog is not coming back to you every time. Like in Throw and Go, your dog returns with that disc back to you, and then you throw it out down the field again. Four-way play, your dog is crossing back and forth and coming in towards you. Fragility, the dog's with you, right? Those are our first 3 games. It's easiest for dogs and for humans typically to play as they're engaging more with their dog and their dog is close to them. But in Spaced Out, sorry, Dre, go ahead.
I was agreeing with you. When the dog is closer, it's easier. Yeah.
So in Spaced Out, your dog is catching at a distance, and you're also picking up on patterns at a distance, like a zigzag pattern, a crossing pattern back and forth, or a catch and a further out throw. So we're challenging our throwers to have their dog work away from them, work with multiple discs, so throwing multiple discs to their dog so that their dog can switch between discs. Because again, in the other games, technically you could end up using one disc the whole time. And so those are our big ones. Dre, can you think of any others?
The big one that comes up for me is use of the field. So it does contribute to what you're saying, throwing away. So the dog does need to be able to drop at a distance, which is what you were alluding to, that the dog isn't necessarily coming back where we're using multiple discs. But also it allows you to throw the dog maybe to the left-hand side of the field and then to the right-hand side of the field like you would in a crossing pattern, but without the dog coming back to you. It allows you to set for freestyle the dog to use more of the field rather than just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, which we usually see when people are first starting out in freestyle. It makes you comfortable with being able to use the lateral spaces of the field, the dog being able to track discs that are in interception and shapes instead of just straight up and down the field is definitely a different skill. So use of the field is the one that comes up for me. And accuracy at a distance, being able to throw to a very specific spot. And timing.
Yeah, the handler skills definitely are higher in terms of accuracy in this game.
Yep. Yeah.
By the way, can you hear Doc barking?
I was gonna say we have a third host today, and the third host is Doc in the back because all I keep looking at is him chomping on your, what is it, a septipod?
Octomutant.
Octomutant. Whatever it is. It doesn't have 8 legs, it has 6. Septimutant, we called
Right.
it.
Jack calls it the hexapod.
Well,
Hexapod?
yeah, because hexapus.
Oh,
Hexapus.
I guess septa is 7, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's this adorable little 6-legged octopus in the back. He stopped chewing on it now, but it's our third host today is Doc in the background. Being a good dog, you can't hear him at all.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, can't hear him.
He is occasionally barking, but I didn't know if it was coming through on the Zoom.
Nope, Zoom is magic that way.
Okay.
Speaking of octopus and 8 discs
Nice
is what we
segue,
use in
Kat.
Spaced Out. What was the thought process on that? Because that seems like a lot of discs outside of freestyle.
Well, we thought, hey, if we became a disc manufacturer, we could sell a lot more discs if we had a game with 8 discs. That's not really why we did it, but no, again, thinking about freestyle, most of the other games, like you walk out there with 1 disc in your hand for toss and fetch, and then all of a sudden you're thrown into, now you're going to be managing, 8 to 10 discs in your hand and having to work with your dog. So we wanted to get our players used to working with a large stack of discs, being able to throw those and keep them in their hand in a way that allows them to quickly get them out. Disc management also comes into Spaced Out. Like if your dog's dropping all the way out in the zones and not bringing the disc a little bit back to you as they head to the other zones, that can be a challenge as well. So the 8 discs was just another one of those steps to try to bring in other skills that players can work on. And a lot of our games actually utilize the 8 discs, which is what our freestyle number of discs is as well.
Getting people used to holding all those discs. Well, as usual, when we launch a new game, so when we launch Space Out, we put it out to our community and we ask them to try and break the game. And we actually did have a rule caveat that came up when we were testing Spaced Out. I think it happened in St. Louis, and I lived in St. Louis at the time. But we had a bunch of teams banking Spaced Outs. So basically they would do a bunch of throws in one zone, a bunch of throws in another zone, a bunch of throws in another zone, and then clear out, spaced out, spaced out, spaced out in the whatever the last zone was. Like, what is that all about? And is banking Spaced Out still allowed?
So
it was never allowed.
Yeah, so it was never allowed, but it was like a misinterpretation, or maybe the rules weren't tight enough that it allowed people to interpret them a different way. And we didn't even know this was happening until until people started sharing their strategies, and we're like, whoa, wait, what's going on? So like Dre was saying, like obviously in Spaced Out, if anybody's played the game, you've got to get 4 catches to close out a Spaced Out. And when you get all the spaces, that's why it's called Spaced Out, by the way. There's 4 spaces that you're trying to close out. When you hit all 4 of the spaces, you get a bonus, right? You get the 25-point bonus, which is a huge bonus. But the rules of the game are such that you have to, you need to get all 4, then it closes out, you get the bonus, and then it kind of clears the board, and you can try to get all 4 again. And what folks were doing was they were getting maybe 3 that were on sort of their side of the field, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and they were kind of like, all right, I got 3 sets of the 1, 2, 3. Now I need to go get those 4s, and they would go 4, 4, 4, 4, and try to close them out.
Spaced out.
No, you're close, but they would do orange, blue, orange, blue, orange, blue, and then they would do
Then they go to the other
green,
2.
pink, green, pink, green, because they knew they had to get catches in alternating zones.
You couldn't score
but that's how they were doing it, is just doing, bam, 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 bam in 2 zones, and then bam, bam, bam in 2 zones, and then suddenly they have, 3 spaced outs or 4 spaced outs or whatever. So they had part of the rules right in terms of knowing that they couldn't do back-to-back points in the same zone. They just they weren't clearing the board before starting their next spaced out.
The clarification.
So even today, we occasionally get a new club that thinks that they can do that, and the rules are much tighter. We actually have an example in the rules that says exactly kind of what Kat was saying, and we say don't do this because that's not allowed. But again, it's interesting as people try to come up with different strategies. They try to, press the rules a little bit, like Dre said. They try to like break the game, right? Then we just have to clarify. Again, it always kind of goes back to like what is the
Intention.
purpose or the intention of the game. And the intention of the game was to try to like spread the dog around the field and hit all 4 of those zones. If you're just clustering on these 2 over here and then waiting and then clustering on these 2 over here, you're really not moving your dog the way that we are hoping that you learn how to do. So sometimes we are sticklers about certain rules, and sometimes we're not.
Sometimes we let you guys have your caveats in the game, and sometimes we're like, no, that is not our intention.
Yes, exactly.
All right, let's pause right here, guys, because Kat's gonna take Doc P real quick. Sorry.
I saw him barking. Can't hear him though. Come here, villain.
All right, so in Spaced Out, it's kind of a different game in that there's a cool thing that a lot of clubs like to do with this game that doesn't happen with the other games, and that's sound effects. Tell us what this is all about and how that started, if you remember, and was that the plan from the start?
Well, it definitely was not the plan in any way. So I think what ended up, and this is my recollection, so you guys definitely chime in if you remember differently. So after somebody would get a Spaced Out, of course, that was exciting. And we wanted them to know for sure that they had gotten the Spaced Out. Like, hey, awesome job. You nailed all 4 spaces. Now go and start it over again or whatever. So we wanted that to be really clear. And I know at least us locally, I had like a weird like space sound thing that sort of like it was just one of the little default settings that I had on my sampler. And so we started using that sound. And then because Spaced Out is spaced out, like it's got a space theme, and one of the achievements is actually related to like video games, Space Invaders and Galaga, like old school video games. One of the sounds that I think that is made in those games, or at least as when people make that sound, they go pew pew pew, and so that started as well. And I know like Jason started doing it when he was running events, like because not everybody had the little sound effects that we had on our board. But they had been hearing them, and I guess that's kind of how it started. I don't know. What do you think?
I feel like Canada's involved in this somehow, but I can't remember exactly how. And
Canada's always involved,
right? But I don't remember how, and I'm sure that when they listen, they'll chime in and refresh our memory. But yeah, and I feel like it was kind of something that happened.
Well, was it because Jason went and got Canada started in one of their clubs or something? I don't know.
I think I went out there a bunch.
Well, I know Jason went to Saskatchewan and you went to Alberta. Anyway, I'm sure someone from those clubs will let us know, but I feel like they're involved in some way.
Well, didn't it get, I mean, because we were all down in Florida when this got started, right?
I have no recollection of how we chose.
Yeah, and so we were used to hearing some sound when people got us Spaced Out, and so I think it just became, the person on the sound booth doesn't have anything, so we're going to make one. So on the microphone, we would go pew, 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 or, something to indicate that it was a Spaced Out. And then I think the whole idea of the sound effects with Spaced Out, just it was a thing. And then I know when we've done Spaced Out, a lot of clubs do themed Spaced Out. So like, if you have a winter theme or something, you might have like a snowman and Santa Claus or a pine tree, and you put yeah, ho 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 or whatever in the sweet spot. So you put these things in the sweet spot, and then the announcer, instead of saying like green circle, they go, oh, you got to get the Christmas tree, or oh, you got to get the snowman, or whatever. They call out the shapes. And I know what we started doing, and other clubs started doing as well, is coming up with sound effects for each one of the zones. And as you hit the zone, then you hear ho ho ho, or when you hit the snowman, I don't know, you hear Frosty the Snowman or something. So it's been kind of cool how people have taken the game and just it's got a life of its own.
Yeah. The one of the most fun events that we've done was we did May the 4th Be With You. And so all the zones were, of course, Star Wars themed. So literally it was like Star Wars sound effects. So like there was a Chewie going, and there was like we did a lightsaber and had a and the TIE fighter. So that was a lot of fun. Like
that's a lot of fun.
How did the lightsaber go?
She did it.
Is that going to be one of our official sound clips now?
Right. Yep. So it's like, not only is it fun to do the pew 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 for when you get a spaced out, but if you're looking for something fun to do with your for your local event and you've got some kind of cool theme, paint the zones and find some sound effects go with it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, didn't we do like I Am Your Father was one of them?
Yeah. We had Darth Vader and it would be, look, I am your father.
There's going to be a lot of May the 4th Be With You episodes coming up now. People hosting those events with Star Wars themes. That'll be a lot of fun. I wonder when it lands this year. Is that landing on a weekend?
I think it does. I think it might be on a Sunday this year. We did it last year. It was on a Saturday.
If anyone does decide to do a May the 4th Be With You event,
yeah, it is on Sunday.
We created a May the 4th Be With You artwork that you can turn into a sticker or a t-shirt or something like that. It's already done and it's got Uppy on it and stuff. So if anybody wants to use that, if you reach out to me,
items not for resale.
On items not for resale.
Disclaimer.
Thank you for that disclaimer. But yeah, for awards or stickers for people who attend the contest or whatever, it's a cool little logo that was created.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm ready to ask a controversial question now.
Oh, okay. Well, this is a controversial game, so I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to ask.
Too. All right. So one of the big topics that we hear a lot about feedback from players is the dice roll and the randomness of the dice roll. So for those of you that don't know, spaced out, before you walk up and play your round, you roll a die, and whatever die number it comes out to, that's the zone you throw from. And there are definitely favorable zones, 4 and 6. Technically, that's everybody's. Technically, 6, you could choose any zone you want. 4 is the closest, right? But, people like Jack really like zone 1 also. So what we hear a lot is, why don't we have a dice roll before the game and everybody plays from the same zone so that it's quote unquote the same or fair from everybody? Or, why do we even have the dice roll? How do you feel about the randomness of that? So let's just have a little bit of that conversation, what we're thinking with having the dice roll still be random.
So again, going back to the thought process of skills that we're building in this game, I don't even like it when clubs and I know we do it for the sake of time, and so I get it, but initially, Dre, you'll remember this, if it's my turn, I walk up, I'm handed a dice. We had a giant inflatable dice that we used to throw. But then the wind would get it and it would go, down down the park, and we'd have to chase it down and stuff. And so for the sake of time, then we went to a little dice on the table. And then it turned into, well, the sound person is just going to hit the phone and tell you what random one that you've gotten. All that is fine as long as it happens as I'm walking up to the field. But what happens a lot of times is we just go through and we find out what everybody's zone is, and we let them know ahead of time, all right, you're going to be throwing from this. Ideally, we want you to walk up, the thought process behind the game is, I don't know where I'm going to have to throw from. It's now my turn. and I got my disc. I'm walking my dog out to the field, and the score person says, "You're throwing from zone 2, or you're throwing from zone 4, or whatever." And I'm like, okay, now I got to think on the fly. What's a good pattern from zone 4? How am I going to move my dog back and forth? Where am I going to try to ask my dog to drop for the dismanagement component and things like that. We really don't want it to be something that everybody knows ahead of time. And then, like if we rolled it once and we just said, all right, everybody, you're all throwing from zone 5. First of all, the people that don't like the dice roll, many of them claim that the reason that they don't like it is they feel like it can give an unfair advantage to one team or the other. I would argue if you rolled the dice at the beginning of the game, at the beginning of the day, and told everybody, all right, you're all rolling from zone 1, the people who weren't the first 3 or 4 people to go have a distinct advantage, because now I know where I'm throwing from. I can watch what the wind's doing. I can figure out what my game plan is going to be.
Yep.
So I think that there are always, anytime, especially if you're playing outdoors, maybe if you're playing indoors, some of the randomness of the games goes down, lowers. But there's always random factors: wind, rain, the sun in your dog's eye, the sun in your eye. Like those things are always going to be factors that you can't control. And we thought, let's just throw in, this is the only game where we have like a random dice throw, and that tells you where you're going to throw from. So that's kind of the idea behind it, or the reasoning behind it. I do understand some of the people that don't like it or would prefer it be otherwise. I don't agree with them, but I understand where they're coming from. I mean, it's a valid argument or discussion point. That's not why we designed the game that way. So
Yeah, like I get that it can be frustrating that if you're not one of the more highly skilled players and you get a 3 and your best friend gets a 4, that you see, okay, now they have an advantage. But big picture, we are trying to teach, be ready for anything. I mean, we've talked about it. You play freestyle at a world finals, you go at 10 o'clock in the morning and your wind is completely calm. There's no rain. Your best friend goes at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and it's 20-mile-per-hour winds and raining. So it's the same game. It's the same competition. You're all going up against each other, but the conditions are not the same. So this is just like recreating that in a micro way. Because honestly, most people who are playing Spaced Out are playing it within an hour time frame. You're not playing it all day long. So it recreates those conditions, so to speak, and gets you used to that kind of stuff. So you just have to look at it big picture.
Like taking your medicine or doing your homework.
Right.
It's going to benefit you in the long term. You just might not like it. I can understand let's say I'm a high level Spaced Out player. It's my best game. And I'm banking. I've been training and doing all that. It all comes down to the dice roll. I could see how I would not like that at finals.
Well, if you're high level, though, then you should be able to handle any of the score zones.
Yes, but if, one of the other high level players gets a better zone and it comes down to a dice roll, then I could see that I wouldn't like it as much if that's my primary game. And, sometimes you got to do your homework or take your medicine in order to advance in the sport. So our intention is for people to grow even if they don't like it.
Grow, damn it.
Grow. And that's the same with Boom. Like we want people to throw down the field past those zones to the uncomfortable zone, and you can't throw anywhere else but the one zone that's scoreable. That's not comfortable either. And a lot of people like Boom because of that exact reason.
I think about it with Far Out. Like at UpDiff, Far Out lasts from 8 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon for every, like the men take that long, the women take that long. Yep. Well, at 8 in the morning, you may be throwing into the sun, or at 4 in the afternoon, you may be throwing into the sun, depending on which way that field is. So you obviously it's a completely different scenario from the person who went at 8:30 to the person who went at 4:30. So
and
Spaced Out's no different.
Depending on the winds, 2 and 3 might end up being the best zones to throw from, like depending on where the wind is coming at that time.
2 and 3 might be the best ones in the morning, and then
because of sun or something.
4 may only be good for an hour in the middle of the day, and then 1 and 5 are best at the end of the day. Like it's just,
Yeah.
recreating weather patterns with Spaced Out.
This is like teachers explaining why homework is important.
Exactly.
There's so many good reasons. But yeah, it's all just it's in the learning category. And that's why UpDog was created, is to help create more freestyle players and bridge the gap between toss and pitch and freestyle in some of our games.
I
Make
mean,
that more visible as a learning skill than some of our other games that mask the intention a little bit more in a more fun way. We're not willing to make this one easier or more fair or more consistent because it goes against the intention of the game, which is for it to be completely random and for you to deal with it. Whatever you get, deal with it. Make the best out of it and love it. Love it, people.
Right.
I mean, and if you're a purist and you don't want any other factors influencing, things other than the weather and you and your dog, well, you've got 11 more games that you can play that do it that way.
Yeah, like on the time warp challenge, the question that people are asked every time is, what's your favorite game? Mine is Spaced Out. And part of that is because I'm not watching the same thing over and over and over again. Like as the person who's usually sitting at the table hitting the timer button, I find it more interesting because I'll see,
It
someone
changes.
from 1, someone from 5, someone from 2. Like I don't get I shouldn't say as bored because I don't get bored watching UpDog, but I mean, it keeps my interest more because
It's
it changes
repetitive.
constantly.
It gets repetitive.
So what you're saying is we did the dice roll to help the judges stay more focused throughout
Help
the
Kat
day.
stay amused. Yes.
Yes, we did it all so I could stay amused. But I mean, I like playing it too. Like I like that challenge. Obviously I'm not a high level player, but I'm pretty good. So obviously when I get a 4 or a 6, if the weather conditions are right, I get happy, but I can still do good from the other zones. So,
Well, speaking of other zones, Kat, what do you think about the next level of this game?
Yeah, so level 2 Spaced Out, Jack. What have you got to say about that? How is that different? I know we've played it and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so if you haven't played level 2's been out for years.
Yep.
For Spaced Out, but essentially you do need a large field to play it. You need the full field because we take the two furthest zones down the bonus strip. So the 2 end zones of the bonus strip, they become catch zones. So now in order to get a Spaced Out, you must get 6 catch zones. And now the randomness of the dice can really be your friend or your foe because you actually roll the dice twice and you can alternate between those 2 throwing zones as you're playing the game. So you can move around, which really mixes things up and does make a player think about their disc management way more than
you have 8 discs, right? And on 6 zones now, so it's not.
Well, you have 10 discs. 10
Level
discs.
2, you have 10.
Yeah, 10 discs on level 2. But the thing is, like, if I know, all right, I'm going to start, let's say that I roll a 1 and a 3. And I know that I'm going to start at 1 and I want to knock out these 3 zones. And then I'm going to move to zone 3 and knock out ones on the other side of the field. I want my dog kind of dropping discs so that as I move from one zone to the next zone, I can pick those up on the way and I'm not like running all over the field, which is kind of, again, what we do in freestyle. You strategically think about where your dog is dropping discs. You strategically move around the field to pick up discs, not run willy-nilly all over the place. So I like a lot of the connections between that and freestyle. It's a fun game. You definitely, it's advantageous to be more mobile, like to be able to move around the field. But I've also played Spaced Out level 2 and never moved off my one zone. Like I've done it where I just challenged myself. I want to make the long throws from this zone, or frankly, I don't want to move.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stay here. And,
well, yeah, I've seen Lily play this before. I think she had a hip issue at the time or whatever. And so it was before UpDiff last year. And she had trained just a fast retrieve.
Yeah. Yeah. There's different strategies and you can do well moving or you can do well staying in one spot.
I think talking about this right now, I feel like I'd like to propose we go to level 2 spaced out at UpDiff 2026.
What?
One reason is we've been wanting to push stuff to level 2 anyway.
I thought we were going to go with four-way play first.
I know, but hear me out. One of our
Hear me out.
One of our problems that we have with spaced out at UpDiff is that we have a billion tiebreakers at the end of the day. I feel like if we went to level 2, there would be less tiebreakers.
Again, Kat, thinking of the judges.
Go.
It's
I like that
logistic.
idea. I like that
Thinking
idea. I mean, I think it's spaced out as one of our more advanced level games anyway. So it's good to push those, you know, push them a little bit more. And I mean, four-way play is intense level 2. That's a lot. That's a lot harder.
That's hard to
And
harder
hard to
to judge
judge.
at level 2.
I
lot
love
more
I
movement.
love four-way play level 2. That's
All right, your
Playing or
head judge.
judging.
Four-way play level 2, Jack's head judge.
playing, but I mean I don't mind judging it.
It's hard. It's harder
It's
to
harder
judge.
to judge, yeah.
But at spaced out level 2, I don't think it's harder to judge. And even if you're a novice mid-level player, because you have those 2 dice rolls, you can move. So it may actually be an advantage to you to play at level 2 as opposed to level 1 with a 3 and you can't get to the zone you need to get to, you know?
All right, well you guys heard it here first that Kat
2026.
is throwing it out there. I want to see some comments on what you guys think about Kat's proposal.
Spaced out level 2. I love it.
By the way,
Well-
speaking of like going like before we leave the dice roll thing, not too long ago, about a year ago maybe, Kat put out a survey asking people if they liked the I don't remember how it was worded,
Yeah,
but
me either.
it was something about the dice roll. And like there were more people that liked the dice roll, the randomness of the dice roll, than disliked the dice roll. So
It's just if you dislike it, you really dislike it.
Yeah,
And you're
I
very
think-
vocal about
yeah,
it.
exactly. I was just gonna say the people the dissenters are loud, but I think overwhelmingly people do like the dice roll and the way that spaced out rules are.
Yeah, I remember Jason being highly disappointed in that survey.
Yeah.
Because he hates
Because
spaced
he's
out.
one of the loud minority.
Well, speaking of the theme this year being out of this world, and we are talking about spaced out, I actually, Kat, I thought you were going to say maybe we should move it to level 2 this year, and I was shocked that you were willing to even consider making, because it's out of this world. Like if there was any year to make spaced out level 2, it'd be the out of this world year. But since we don't want to stress everybody out and
Right.
cause
I don't
major-
need that kind of
No,
flag.
we don't need to create any major stress. Is there anything special planned for spaced out, given that it's an out of this world theme this year, even if it's not playing level 2?
So that is a good question, Dre. And I will say that, again, going back to logistics that Kat was talking about, I don't think we planned our logistics well with Spaced Out, because last year Spaced Out was the featured game.
Yeah, and then this year they're making a space theme.
and it was spaced out when, what was our theme last year? Oh, rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
UpDog rocks.
UpDog rocks. So like, I don't know. We didn't realize we were gonna, I don't think we knew the theme before we selected the featured game.
No, but we were looking forward to like cool rock musical instruments in the spaced out zones,
Yeah.
because we had big ideas about having those sound effects. It just didn't come through.
Logistically.
Yeah.
Again, logistics.
Yep.
But anyways, so Spaced Out is not going to be the featured game. Our featured game this year is Freestyle, because we also had to make some adjustments, just because again, Dre, yours and mine's dream is coming true of like Freestyle just getting overwhelmed by players, and everybody wants to play and everybody's out there getting their points to play. But Freestyle is the game that takes the longest to judge. It's the longest game to play. And so we had to make some adjustments there. Freestyle became our featured game. And so anyway, it's not Spaced Out is not the featured game. However, we do have something planned for an evening event, which you will need to stay tuned on this one. But we're going to try to do something special. We're going to try to do something special with Spaced Out after dark.
I'm very, very excited about this. I think we just finalized it yesterday, right?
I think you're thinking about something different.
Oh,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
something else?
Yeah, you're thinking about something different. Yeah.
Oh, there's two things then.
Yeah.
Okay, so after this episode, I'm gonna have to figure out what the thing is that you're talking about because I'm thinking about the other thing.
Yeah, well, we'll keep everybody informed. It'll be out on the live fact sheet and out.
By the time this gets published, they'll already know.
Oh, okay. Well,
So I'm the only one out of the loop. That's
all
okay.
right. Next question. Let's move on.
Well, I
Something
think
special will happen though with Space
Get
Out.
Time Warpy next.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
My moment.
Well,
I finally get to play Time Warp.
All right. Am I doing the timer?
So I'll do the black questions. You do the purple
And
questions.
then I'm doing the
Me
timer.
this time, Kat. And then you got it,
And-
Kat, because you're going second, you got to do the timer.
Yep, working on it. Okay. I'm ready. Are you ready?
I am so ready.
Are
I'm
you
not gonna.
ready?
Not gonna even
I'm
look at the
ready.
All right. Ready, set, go.
What's your favorite pizza topping?
pepperoni.
What was the last subject you Google searched?
Oh shit. I don't know. Vitamins.
Would you rather be throwing a hero halo or a hero star?
Depends on the dog, but generally Halo.
Would you rather burp glitter or fart confetti?
Burp glitter, baby.
Name 3 80s pop stars. Don't disappoint Kat.
30
Go.
seconds.
Pop stars.
Like music.
Madonna. Girls just wanna have fun. Cyndi Lauper. Pass on the third one. Give me a break. That was 2.
All right, go quick, Kat.
I was trying to give her a hint.
Oh,
7
wham!
seconds. Yeah, there you go. What are the best spaced out throwing zones?
4 and 6. Well,
0
6.
time.
All right. Come on, Dre. I thought you'd be able to get just
Question.
3.
3 more. Come on, give me another one.
George Michael, Prince. Like you got lots
I
of
did play with
bands.
George Michael, but I didn't consider him pop.
Oh, yeah.
What would he be?
I don't know.
Alternative grunge?
I don't know what are like kind of rocky R. No, not R&B. Just I guess that is pop. It's a big category.
Yeah.
Popular music, yeah.
Yeah, just popular. All
I was
right.
thinking like pop.
All right. Here are the ones that you didn't get.
Okay.
You ready? What is your favorite melon?
Cantaloupe.
And do you put salt on it?
No.
Okay. If animals could talk, which one would be the rudest?
Donkeys.
When you doodle, what do you draw?
Oh. Nothings. I think I just draw shapes and
Okay,
lines.
just squigglies.
Yeah, and then
All right. Last question. Are you better at shouting or whispering?
Oh, shouting. I'm
All
loud.
right, there you have it, guys. Dre,
Time Warp Challenge. I didn't even come
stuck
close.
on the 380s pop stars.
But you knew that.
I purposely threw that in there because I wanted to see if you would step
trouble.
up to it when Kat's here.
I got 2 out of 3. I'm very proud of myself. After I got initially flooded with Panic, it took me a minute. Panic is another one. Panic at the Disco.
Yeah, I don't know if that's pop, but
Well, that's not 80s, but
Is that 90s?
I think that would be 2000s.
See, that's my problem is I was mostly a 90s and 2000s baby. So you're asking me to go back and name things when I was a child. I know the lyrics. I just don't know the band names. I can sing all those 80s music still. All right. Anyway, I failed miserably at Time Warp, but hopefully I'll get it.
That's
get
all
another-
right. On the
Thank
next episode, Kat will get her due.
Yeah. You got to ask her hard questions too, Jack. You have to
Don't
live
worry.
with
I've
Just
got
gotta
one.
ask her.
I've got one very similar for her.
if he asks
Okay.
me artists from the 2000s, I'm screwed.
country music.
Get
Ask
ready.
me 90s country music next time, and I got it. I got all the lyrics. Well,
Kat,
thank
you
you,
better-
Kat, for being great.
You better go Google some 2000s artists for the next Time Warp.
How much you want to bet they're just going to be 80s artists that keep making music?
That
in
keep on
2000s?
going.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if the judges are going to count those, but all right, everybody.
Trouble the
So-
judges want to be in. Thank you, Kat, for being my co-host today on the Sweet Spot podcast. You are an excellent co-host.
I
And Jack,
enjoyed it.
thank you for being our guest today and our expert about Spaced Out. And if you guys have any more cool topics that you want us to talk about, don't forget there is a post on the UpDog discussion page asking for suggestions, or you could just hit up Jack or Kat or I. Probably don't hit up Kat with it; she has enough to do. Hit up Jack or I with suggestions of topics that you'd like. We love hearing that kind of stuff. We only have two brains, so if you can throw your brains in there for topic ideas, we love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some of our best podcast episodes have been topics that you guys have suggested. So we would love that. In the meantime, we hope that you guys are practicing UpDog, getting out onto a field locally with your club. Maybe getting some new strategies down for UpDiff coming up. And we hope that we get to see all of you at UpDiff, which is in only about a month or less by the time you hear this. So, yeah, Kat's freaking out. I am too a little bit. But anyways, in the meantime, what should they do?
Be kind to each other.
And be kind to your animals. See you next time, guys.
Thanks, guys. Deal with it. Make the best out of it and love it. Love it, people.
Right.